In the idyllic town of Willow Creek, Laura Harper and her son Ethan were the perfect mother-son, due until a chilling 911 call exposed a twisted secret. Behind their charming cottage and Laura's warm smile hid a psychological prison, where love turned into obsession. What drove Laura to trap Ethan in a web of control? Is it what dark truth remains buried in their home? Unravel the shocking story of Laura and Ethan Harper, Willow Creek, a sleepy town. Nestled in the rolling hills of Oregon was the kind of place where everyone knew their neighbors. Maple Street, lined with tidy lawns and picket fences, was home to Laura Harper and her teenage son. Ethan, Laura, a 42-year-old single mother, was a pillar of the community. Her auburn hair always neatly pinned, she greeted everyone with a warm smile that seemed to radiate kindness. She volunteered at the local church, organized bake sales for the school, and served on the neighborhood watch. Her home, a charming two-story cottage with blue shutters and a rose garden, was the envy of the block. Ethan, a lanky 17-year-old with his mother's green eyes, was a junior at Willow Creek High. He was a Strata student, a midfielder on the soccer team, and known for his quiet demeanor. Together, they seemed to embody the ideal mother-son duo, a testament to resilience after Laura's husband, Tom, abandoned them a decade earlier. But beneath this polished exterior, something felt off. Laura's devotion to Ethan was intense, almost suffocating. She attended every soccer practice, sitting in the bleachers with a thermos of coffee, her eyes fixed on him. She checked his phone nightly, citing safety concerns, and insisted he text her his whereabouts hourly. Neighbors noticed Ethan rarely hung out with friends. Laura always had an excuse: homework, chores, or family time. Community events. She kept him close, her hand often resting on his shoulder or brushing his hair back in a way that seemed too intimate for a teenager. Some dismissed it as a mother's love, especially after Tom's betrayal left Laura to raise Ethan alone. Others, like Mrs. Delaney, the elderly widow next door, felt uneasy. She once saw Laura watching Ethan through the kitchen window as he mowed the lawn, her gaze unblinking, almost predatory. The town's perception of the Harpers began to shift when small incidents piled up. At a school fundraiser, Laura snapped at a teacher who suggested Ethan join a study group, insisting he didn't need outside influences. Ethan's soccer coach mentioned he seemed distracted, often glancing at the bleachers where Laura sat. Rumors swirled, but no one could pinpoint what was wrong. Willow Creek prided itself on community, and no one wanted to accuse Laura without proof. Still, the whispers grew. Was Laura's love for Ethan too much? Was there something darker behind her perfect facade? The answers would soon unravel, revealing a truth that would shake the town to its core. As Ethan approached his 17th birthday, the cracks in the Harper household became harder to ignore. At school, teachers noticed a change in him. A confident student who raised his hand eagerly, Ethan grew withdrawn. His grades, once impeccable, slipped to CS. He flinched at loud noises, like a locker slamming, and avoided eye contact with classmates. His best friend, Jake, later told police that Ethan stopped hanging out after school, always saying, "Mom needs me at home." Jake once tried to visit, but Laura answered the door, her smile tight, and said Ethan was resting. The door closed before Jake could protest at home. Laura's behavior grew stranger. Mrs. Delaney, who often sat on her porch knitting, noticed Laura pacing the backyard at odd hours, sometimes at 2 a.m., her silhouette illuminated by the porch light. She muttered to herself, her hands wringing as if wrestling with an unseen burden. Another neighbor, Mr. Thompson, a retired mechanic, saw Laura carrying heavy trash bags to the curb late at night, far more than a single mother and son would produce. When he jokingly asked if she was renovating, Laura's laugh was sharp, her eyes darting away. Ethan, meanwhile, stopped hosting his annual birthday barbecue, a tradition Laura once proudly organized. The house, once filled with the scent of grilled burgers and laughter, grew quiet, its curtains drawn, even on sunny days. A chilling incident sparked more suspicion. During a rainstorm, Ethan's classmate, Sarah, found a crumpled note in his locker. Scrawled in shaky handwriting were the words, "I can't escape her eyes. They're always watching." Sarah showed it to a teacher, who dismissed it as teenage angst, but filed a report with the school counselor. The counselor tried to meet with Ethan, but Laura intervened, claiming he was under stress and needed privacy. Gossip spread like wildfire. Some said Laura was just overprotective, a mother clinging to her only child. Others whispered of something more sinister, pointing to how Laura's touch lingered on Ethan's arm at the grocery store, her fingers tracing his skin in a way that made onlookers uneasy. A local barista recalled Laura ordering Ethan's coffee, insisting on decaf for his nerves, even as Ethan, standing behind her, looked defeated. The town's unease grew, but no one acted. Willow Creek was small, and accusing Laura, a woman who baked cookies for the fire department, seemed unthinkable. Yet the shadows in the Harper home were lengthening. The truth was clawing its way to the surface, waiting for a spark to ignite. On a stormy November night, a 911 call shattered Willow Creek's tranquility. Mrs. Delaney, unable to sleep, heard screams from the Harper house, hyped, desperate, and unmistakably Ethan's. She called the police, her hands trembling as she described the sound. When officers arrived, they found Laura on the porch, drenched and sobbing. Her hair clung to her face, and her nightgown was streaked with mud. She claimed Ethan had run away after an argument, saying he was rebellious and needed space. The officers, skeptical but sympathetic, searched the house. It was spotless, almost unnaturally so. The kitchen gleamed, the living room smelled of lemon cleaner, and Ethan's bedroom looked untouched, his bed perfectly made. But small details caught their attention: a locked basement door with a heavy padlock, fresh scratch marks on Ethan's bedroom walls, and a faint, chemical scent of bleach lingering in the air. The search for Ethan began immediately. Missing. Posters went up, showing his school photo, those green eyes staring blankly. Volunteers combed the woods behind Maple Street, while divers checked the nearby creek. No trace of Ethan emerged. Then, a delivery driver named Carl provided a crucial lead. He told police that, weeks earlier, he'd seen Ethan near the town's edge, looking pale and disheveled. Ethan had flagged him down, begging for a ride to the next town. Before Carl could respond, Laura appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, her face twisted with rage. She grabbed Ethan's arm, yanking him back toward the house, her voice low and venomous. Carl drove off, uneasy but unsure what to do. His story prompted police to dig deeper. Investigators returned to the Harper home. With a warrant, in Laura's bedroom, they found a locked diary hidden beneath a floorboard. Its pages were a descent into obsession. Laura wrote of Ethan as her eternal companion, describing rituals to bind their souls. She detailed late-night sessions in the basement, where she made Ethan recite phrases about loyalty and purity. The entries grew erratic, with phrases like, "He must never leave, and his body is mine to protect." The diary hinted at no physical abuse, but a psychological stranglehold, a warped belief that Ethan belonged to her alone. Police began to suspect Laura hadn't just driven Ethan away, she'd imprisoned him in a web of control, blurring the lines of maternal love into something grotesque. The search for Ethan stretched into weeks, with Willow Creek gripped by fear and fascination. Media descended, news vans clogging Maple Street as reporters speculated about the missing soccer star. Then, a breakthrough. Ethan was found alive, hiding in a dilapidated motel 30 miles away. He was gaunt, his eyes hollow, his clothes torn. When police approached, he curled into a ball, whispering she'd find me. He refused to speak about Laura, but his body told a story: fingernail marks on his arms, as if he'd scratched himself raw, and a tremor that shook his hands. A doctor noted signs of severe anxiety, likely from prolonged psychological trauma. Forensic teams scoured the Harper house, uncovering chilling evidence. In the basement, behind the locked door, they found a small room with a single chair, a flickering bulb, and walls covered in handwritten notes pinned up like a shrine. The notes repeated phrases from Laura's diary: "We are one, no one else can have him." Traces of Ethan's blood were found on the chair, too small to suggest violence, but enough to hint at struggle or restraint. A hidden camera, its lens pointed at the chair, recorded hours of footage, Ethan sitting silently, Laura's voice off-screen, commanding him to repeat her words. The footage was grainy, but Ethan's fear was palpable, its eyes darting as if seeking escape. Laura's trial revealed the depth of her manipulation. Prosecutors argued she'd spent years isolating Ethan, convincing him the outside world was dangerous. She monitored his every move, from his texts to his thoughts, creating a prison of fear. The diary revealed her belief that Ethan was an extension of herself, not a separate person. She wrote of cleansing him through rituals, believing they would fuse their bond forever. The town was stunned. Laura, the woman who organized potlucks, had orchestrated a psychological nightmare. Ethan's testimony, delivered via written statement, described sleepless nights, constant surveillance, and Laura's insistence that leaving her would destroy them both. The revelation left Willow Creek grappling with guilt. How had they missed the signs? Chapter 5. The aftermath and unanswered questions. Laura was convicted of psychological abuse, false imprisonment, and child endangerment, sentenced to 15 years. In court, she sat motionless, her once bright smile replaced by a vacant stare. Ethan, now 18, moved to a new city with a foster family, attending therapy to untangle the trauma. He avoided Willow Creek, unable to face the town that failed to see his pain. The Harper house stood empty, its rose garden overgrown, a haunting reminder of the darkness within. Neighbors avoided walking past it, some claiming they heard whispers. At night, though, it was likely the wind. The case left Willow Creek fractured. Some blamed themselves for not acting sooner. Mrs. Delaney regretted not calling police earlier, while Jake wished he'd pushed harder to help Ethan. Others turned on Laura, vilifying her as a monster. Yet questions persisted. To such extremes. Her diary hinted at a traumatic childhood, but details were vague. Was she mentally ill, or was her control deliberate? The trial offered no clear answers. Then, a final twist emerged. A letter Laura sent from prison to a local reporter. It was cryptic, mentioning a truth buried in the house that would change everything. Police searched again but found nothing. No hidden rooms, no bodies, just an empty basement. The documentary closes with a slow pan across the Harper house, its windows dark, the roses wilted. A voiceover wonders if Laura's letter was a final manipulation or a clue to an undiscovered secret. Willow Creek may never know, but the story of Laura and Ethan lingers, cautionary tale of love twisted into obsession, hidden behind a perfect facade. The screen fades to black, leaving viewers to ponder the shadows that lurk in even the quietest towns. Asterisk.